So tell us about Tennessee's newest commitment. Should the Vols be happy for dipping into Temple, yay or nay?
So this is my hot take. So Tennessee added a commitment, a Temple Owls cornerback, Jalen McMurray. Transfer cornerback, transfer defensive back, started 2 years at the American, redshirted his first year. On the surface, you may be excited. Tennessee needs a defensive back. I'm just going to tell you I'm not that high on Jalen McMurray. I'm much higher on Jamar McCoy, who came from Oregon State. Jalen McMurray, his second year, showed slight regression from his first year. Big red flag when you play in the American. His PFF grade for the season last year was 66.5. Dave, I'm with you. I'm a believer in younger and guys at smaller schools coming up to the bigger schools. But the root of that is they have to be really, really, really good at the smaller schools, right? Like, so, and I'm not seeing that with Jalen McMurray. I think they just wanted a body. I just think they wanted a body.
Okay. Based off what they've lost, is he a credible body? Because they're kind of at the point where you're not going to look up at the board and say, oh, all the guys in red, those are the guys that we really want, but oops, they're already gone somewhere. It's not like you have the pick of the litter at this point. So if he's just a body, as you say, is he just a good enough body to hang around a while?
I mean, maybe, but let's think about this for a minute. Here's my issue with the McMurray pickup. Jamar McCoy, I get. Dude balled out at a high level. The only reason he left Oregon State was because they're not going to be Power 5 next year. McMurray played as a starter at a lower level. It didn't ball out at all. And I question, what is this move for? Did Tennessee get, because here's the thing, if you're McMurray, Dave, if you're transferring to a big school, aren't you looking to play and to start? So why Tennessee wouldn't be adding him if they're just thinking depth at that point? And I think my issue with this is McMurray. So you have Ricky Gibson III and Jordan Matthews. What is up with those guys? Ricky Gibson III and Jordan Matthews, those are the two elite athletes that they picked up last year at defensive back that I thought would step in at quarterback. You've added Jamar McCoy, and now you've added Jalen McMurray. Are these guys just, Dave, tell me, I don't know what you wrote in the program. Are they not ready? I thought they were going to be ready to go by this time.
Well, I mean, Gibson played quite a bit in the Citrus Bowl. So
that's true. He did.
Yeah. I mean, he played quite a bit. So I think that's one of your guys that's going to be a starter. If you project ahead as far as who's going to be a starter now, it's difficult. And do you think really that Josh Heupel or Tim Banks, do you think they know at this point who they're starting 4 or 5, depending on how you want to look at it, who they're going to be next year? I don't think they do. How many could they name right now that they would say no doubt?
I mean, with Gabe Jeudy-Lally entering the draft, they don't have anybody. They don't have anybody that they know can start next year. That's now secondary wasn't great last year, so I don't think they care. And I think the sign with a lot of the secondary players entering the portal is that, okay, a lot of them entered the portal. So I think that's fine, but yeah, they don't have anybody. They genuinely don't have anybody that could step in. So I think Jalen McMurray, I mean, it could be a depth thing, but okay. So Gabe Julie, they do have about 4 or 5 defensive backs coming in. I'm pretty sure Boo Carter is going to step in at strong safety. I think he's immediately going to step in at strong safety, and Jacoby Thomas will step in from MTSU at free safety. Jacoby Thomas is a pickup I like. That's the type of guy you want. You want somebody who was elite, an elite baller at his lower level. You don't want somebody who's just a starter.
Okay, so you know that I'm not arguing either one of those guys, but we're talking about incoming players. You know, that's not a solid group. If we're talking about 2 of them are probably, you know, that's a lot different than saying going to start. That's a weird position to be in. And I believe what you're saying is probably the likely path, but things happen. Not as big as you thought somebody might be, not ready to play, misses his girlfriend. I mean, it could be any number of things. So what's your takes on this? Why do you think they added Jalen McMurray? I think it's exactly what you said. I think it's a body. I mean, my question is it a good enough body, or do you put yourself in a position where you have to run guys regularly? I think that's the scary thing. You can run guys every once in a while, but you don't want to run 5 or 6 guys each and every January. So hopefully he's good enough to stick around, and the guys they bring in that maybe a reach are good enough to stick around, and you're not just bringing in guys that are essentially walk-on players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think just a body is a big concern because, again, regression. 2022, Jalen McMurray was second-team All-Freshman by College Football News. He entered 2023 preseason All-American Athletic Conference, not preseason All-American, for those who are questioning. Big difference. Didn't get postseason All-American recognition, All-AAC, despite playing the whole year. That suggests underwhelming as a starter and underwhelming at a smaller level. That's a big deal to me. I think you should always be overachieving your expectations at the smaller level if you're going to be coming up to the larger level.
Agreed. No question about it. And you should look pretty darn good. I mean, you should really stand out. Certainly, McAllen Castles was that case. If you went back and looked at any of his tape, he was a jewel. Talking about this secondary, one of the things that we haven't discussed much is if they're using guys that are just kind of plug and play guys you can stick anywhere, can you really develop leadership if you're not playing one particular position? I wonder if you thought of that, Caleb, how disconcerting it might be if Tennessee seems to just be looking for a guy to stick in one place who ultimately is the leader of this secondary. You wouldn't want to do that with your skill position players on offense. At cornerback, you certainly wouldn't want to. At quarterback, you wouldn't want to.
No, I think this is more just about, I think the secondary was never going to be a place that's the leader of the defense. Now, they do need somebody to lead the secondary, you would think. And I thought Jalen McCullough was that guy. Trey Flowers was that 2 years ago when he was battling injury. But yeah, that is the issue for next year. Is they don't really have anybody that can step in and be the leader. I'm going through the secondary now. Christian Harrison and Jordan Thomas are two very smart players who could fill voids in the secondary. Andre Turrentine had kind of a strong Citrus Bowl, but I'm kind of the mindset that it's because he was playing Iowa, not because he's actually flipped a switch and gotten good.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see that with Andre Turrentine. Then you have, I believe John Slaughter is still in the program out of South Haven. And he was a freshman this past year. And obviously, Ricky Gibson and Jordan Matthews, maybe they could flip a switch. It's possible they were just saving a red shirt for Jordan Matthews. And then Jermon McCoy and Jacoby Thomas, the two newcomers. Obviously, with today, the way the secondary works, you want to be able to go 10 deep. So I think that right now, theoretically, in terms of people I've seen see the field, people they have bringing in, and people I think should emerge, I'm counting at one, there's Andre Turrentine, Ricky Gibson, Jordan Matthews, Jordan Thomas, and I do believe in Christian Harrison. So that's about 5, plus Boo Carter, Jacoby Thomas, Jermon McCoy as incoming players, and maybe Jalen McMurray. I theoretically, and then John Slaughter be added, I theoretically see a way for them to go 10 deep next year, but all unproven. I mean, not one. This is Kentucky getting a bunch of one and dones, but they're all 3 stars instead of 5 stars. And I have no idea what to think of them coming in, except for, again, Boo Carter. Look, maybe Boo Carter just as a freshman emerges into a leader. I mean, maybe he's one of those vocal guys that's just, everybody rallies around.
Yes. And I look at Matthews and Gibson, and if they get a couple of guys that just sort of play, that's not a good look, is it? Those are high 4-star, 5-star guys. Those are the guys you're supposed to turn into superstars. I mean, you don't want to bring 2 of those guys in close together and be like, they did okay.
Yeah, Matthews, I thought should have immediately been a superstar by the middle of the year. I saw Alontae Taylor, Bryce Thompson starting as a freshman with Matthews, and he never emerged. Now, again, maybe they were saving a red shirt by the middle part of the year. That's always possible because they were waiting on next year. But Matthews, I think Matthews is... I judge players by where they come from a lot of times. And I feel like Tennessee usually hits on prospects out of Louisiana. And that's what, particularly 4-star. So it kind of shocked me that Matthews didn't emerge. Kind of like, again, one of the reasons I believe in Braylon Staley, Dave, is that I don't think Tennessee's ever missed on a South Carolina kid. I think everybody that comes out of South Carolina turns out to be really, really good when they go to Tennessee. And I feel the same about Louisiana. And so I think that it's a little shocking to me that Matthews didn't emerge and Gibson did. But again, could be redshirt. I mean, I also know this, and you were the one who told me, NIL was the flip for why Matthews didn't stay home and go to LSU. So Tennessee opened a checkbook to get Jordan Matthews in. That's how much they believed in him. And so it's a red flag that he didn't start in 2023, and then that they've gone and added 2 transfer cornerbacks.
Yeah, it would be troubling. And I covered a coach like this, Larry Slade. It may have been before you remember who that was. He was the defensive backs coach. He wasn't well liked, which I thought was unfair because they played so much man. His players were taught to look at the player, not the ball. And there's some similarities with the way that they play a lot of man head up. And I just wonder if some of the coaches like Willie Martinez, they even want to be around, because it seems like they're going to be overly criticized. They could have a very good year if you went and graded them, but because of what the offense does and the way this program's built, a fan might go, yeah, you were just very average, right?
That's exactly what would happen. And that's why people, Dave, you and I are, Willie Martinez and Joey Hausley have caused debates, but the biggest split in Tennessee right now is Tim Banks. People like me and you think he does a phenomenal job, because what he's dealt with and what the offense is what he's asked to do, given what the way the system is built, it's a very, very hard job to be the defensive coordinator at Tennessee. But the other half of Vol Nation wants him fired, like tomorrow. And I'm just saying, you're not going to get any better, because no great defensive coordinator is going to want to come to Tennessee to begin with. And 2, it doesn't matter who your defensive coordinator is. You're always going to be near the bottom half of the SEC in passing yards allowed, always, with the way this offense is structured. That's just how it works. And so the question becomes, you can't expect to get great secondary players. The question becomes, can you get competent secondary players to avoid what happened against South Carolina in 2022, where you give up a touchdown every drive?
Very true.